Hello guys, welcome back to KD Code. In the previous video, we have discussed about introduction to TypeScript and what is the TypeScript, how can it be useful in the Angular project, and we also learned that we add types to our programs and how the syntax looks in TypeScript. Now in this video, we will see how to install TypeScript. Now go to Chrome, search for TypeScript, enter. You'll get a website here. You can visit this typescriptlang.org. This is the official TypeScript webpage where you can learn more about TypeScript and also install the TypeScript. You can click on this Try TypeScript Now button and you want to install it on your desktop, right? So you have to click on this on your computer via npm. If you go down here, you see the command to install TypeScript here. That is npm install TypeScript save dev, right? So before installing TypeScript, you have to install Node.js. As you know, the package manager, that is npm, to install the different packages like TypeScript, we'll get it from Node.js. So we have to install Node.js before we installing this TypeScript. So let's go to Node.js website, Node.js, download. Click on the first link. You can click on this button to install Node.js latest version. You can double click on this MSI to install Node.js. In my case, I have installed this Node.js already. You can have few clicks on the next button here, then you will get Node.js installed in your system. Yeah, it is already installed, so it is showing like this. But in your case, you can just click on next and then install. That's it. Okay. After installing Node.js, you go to command prompt. Just try to see Node.js is installed or not. Node-v. You can see the version is 20.11.1 as I installed this version. You can install the latest version also. I think latest version and the version which is on our system is same, 20.11.1. So you can install the same version. Now let's go back to TypeScript. Now you can use this npm package manager as it is also installed through Node.js, and we will install this TypeScript using this command now. So let's copy this command, go to VS Code. This is the terminal that is integrated with this project. So if I want to install TypeScript here, I just want to give the command here. You can install this TypeScript globally also using -g flag here, but I'm installing it for this project only. So I can give just npm install this command here. But before this, I have to create one more file, that is package.json. I can create it using this command npm init-y. So it will create an empty package.json here. This is the file where we install all the dependencies. Then now I will run that command to install TypeScript. Let us paste the command here. Run it. It is installing. Now you can check the package.json. The TypeScript is already there here in the dependencies. Then I can say it is installed successfully, and package.json is also being created, and you can see the TypeScript version here, right? With that installed, we can now evoke the TypeScript compiler. As you have learned, TypeScript is a superset to JavaScript, extending the JavaScript syntax with those extra types. Now the important thing to note here is that TypeScript code doesn't run in the browser. So if you want to try to execute that TypeScript code in the browser, it will fail obviously. So therefore we need to compile TypeScript to JavaScript, and during that compilation process, all our type annotations will be removed, because the JavaScript doesn't know the type annotations, right? So if I go back to IDE here, so if we convert the TypeScript to JavaScript file, it will warn us with potential code problems if we haven't spotted them in the IDE before, like the one we are getting it here. And then the compiled code, that is the JavaScript file, can be run on the browser. Now to evoke this compiler, we have to run a command. Let's go to the website again. You can see this npx tsc. We have to run this command to evoke this compiler and convert the TypeScript file to JavaScript file. Copy it. Let us paste it here. Run it. You see the JavaScript file is not created here, because if I run this command just like this, npx tsc, then it expects a TypeScript configuration file in that project folder here. That tells TypeScript which file to compile and converts them to the JavaScript file, right? We'll add the configuration file later, but for the moment, we can run this command slightly modified in order to create the JavaScript file. So in order to create the JavaScript file without using that configuration file, I just want to do like this. Along with this npx tsc command, I have to give the TypeScript file name, TypeScript fun.ts, right? Press enter. So now in this case, the TypeScript file got converted to JavaScript file. You can see it is created here. So this file got compiled and created this JavaScript file. If I open the JavaScript file here, if you see in the terminal, it just warns you because of that error, but still it generates the JavaScript file here. It will create the JavaScript file without any types. If you see here, A and B, it doesn't have number types, annotations, and it also changed the constant result type to var here, right? Because it still also compiles the code such that it runs in the older browsers as well. That is something we can be overridden using TypeScript configuration file, but we don't have such a configuration file yet. So therefore we have this code change as well. But of course you see that other than that, it's same code that is written in the TypeScript file, right? And hence I will convert my strings here to numbers. So I will not get that warning, and will just compile without any errors. Save it and just run it again and compiling it again. If you see now, the error went off. I didn't get any errors in the terminal. And if you go to the JavaScript file here, it is the same code as earlier, but without any errors. I got this, and it changed the strings to numbers obviously. Now let's import this file in the HTML. So instead of the JavaScript fun, I will be giving TypeScript fun.js, right? And then let's save it. Let me run this file in the browser. Copy the path. Go to browser, paste it in the browser. Inspect. You can go to console. You see 7 here. So I got 7 here again. But now if we continue working on the TypeScript file and then compile it to run in the browser, now we actually protect ourselves against errors like we had it before. You know, the errors we are getting while we are running the add function, right? Thanks to TypeScript. Let us deep dive into some core basics you need to know about TypeScript. Let me create a file here in the VS Code. Basics.ts, like this. I will start with some basic types. You can work within the types that you will need all the time to work within the TypeScript. They are the primitive type, which we know from JavaScript. Those are numbers and strings, also Boolean, right? These are the primitive types. And then of course we also have complex types like arrays and objects. Arrays and objects. We'll also discuss about function types and much more about some parameters of the function types in the later videos. But for now, let's start with the primitive types here. The primitive types we have here are numbers, strings, and booleans. Also null and undefined, also some of the symbols. For now, we'll concentrate on these common types like numbers, strings, and booleans, null and undefined as well. But these are the important ones to know. So let's say if I have a variable age, we have to define it like this, let age, like that. And if I want to make it clearer that this age should be a number, then I have to give this age a type annotations. I should define it as a number variable. So in order to do that, I have to give colon and number here, like that. So it says that this age variable should be of number type. So let us initialize this variable age equal to 12, like that. So it doesn't show me any error. And you can also use floating types also here. .4, it doesn't give any error because the floats and the decimal places all comes under this number only. But if we try to assign a string here, then it will show error. So it should be only of number type. This is what we saw before in this TypeScript file with these parameters as well, right? We don't have to do this in the second step. We can also just initialize it in the same line itself, like this, right? This is also possible. Now let's create another variable, let username, which is of string type. And I can initialize in the same line, like username is carry code, like that. And there is one important thing to note here is, it is a lowercase number and lowercase string to define the primitive types. If we use the capital number and capital string here, instead of the lower characters, these are turned into objects. So if you use uppercase N and uppercase S, that is the starting letter of these types, as capitals, then it is objects in JavaScript. If you want to use only the primitive types, then you have to use smaller case, that is lowercase. You have to use the lowercase N and lowercase S in order to use the primitive types. So let me show you Boolean type example also. Let is Boolean. It is a Boolean type. Let me assign it to true or false, like that. Let me assign it to true or false, like that. And we can use it in the program as we go. These three are the core primitive types which we can assign in this case to variables. Now as I mentioned, there is a null and undefined types also. But let's say I have a variable 1 which I set to null. And if you want to change that variable 1 afterwards, it will show me error because we should not change that null variable, and it is not too useful to write in our program, right? We just use it in different way that we'll be knowing in the later videos. But let's focus on these primitive types and complex types now. So coming to the complex types, the arrays and objects here. Let's start with arrays. So let me create a variable called hobbies. In this hobbies, I just want to store not only one hobby, I want to store the number of hobbies I have, right? So it should be the array of hobbies, the array of strings, naturally. So I can give like this, string, like this. So I have to define the type, that is string. So and I have to give opening and closing brackets here, which defines it as an array of strings. So it will tell the TypeScript to store the array of strings in this hobbies variable. If you want to store the array of numbers, you can just give number instead of the strings. And if you want to store the array of boolean, you just give boolean like this. Okay. And if you want to initialize it, you can do like this. Hobbies equal to swimming, cricket. So if I try to give any other types instead of strings like 12 here, it will show error because I defined the type of this hobbies to array of strings, but I have given 12 here, which is the type of number, right? So it will not allow us to give numbers or any other boolean types. We just have to enter strings as we defined it like this. So that's how we set up array types here. Now we can also set types for entire objects also. Let's say I have a variable called person here, and I want to store all the person's information inside this variable, like the name and age. Let me do this. Person equal to name, carry code, and age. For example, let me take 12. I want to be able to store something like this, the name and age, that should be stored in this person. Now of course this works, and by default allows me to store any value in this variable, because if you hover on the person, the type of this variable is any. The default type assumed is any type. If we do not set any data type here, then it will be defaultly assigned to any type. It means that I can store any data type inside it. So if I define a variable here like this, which simply tells TypeScript that I don't want to tell you anything about the type of value stored in this variable, that is person, and anything is allowed. And of course this is a fallback type, which you typically should not use because it kind of defeats the entire purpose of using TypeScript in the first place. We are using TypeScript that because we can able to use these data types. So if you do not use them in the TypeScript, then no point in using the TypeScript, right? So if you do not use them, you are basically using the standard JavaScript instead of types. So if I want to store a person with a name and age, I should not define it like this, because afterwards if someone changes it to person equal to, let's say, any boolean type, like is he the employee of the company, like that, true or false, it is allowed here because it is not showing any error. But I don't want such type of extra variables here. Instead I just want only name and age. So in order to do that, I have to define it here, the data types here. I can define the type of this variable like this, u colon, and I'm using this flower brackets, inside this dictionary, I am setting the variables types I want to initialize. Let's say name, it should be of string type, not the object string. So let me use lowercase string, and also age of number, right? If I see now my ID is showing error here, it is saying that we should not use this employee variable here because the allowed variables are name and age of string and number type, right? So we should not use this, and it will not allow us to use this other than the name and age variables. So it will allow me to initialize the person with name and age because it is having the same structure as I have defined it here. Let's say if I want to store different person's information in a list, but this is only one person's information, right? So I just want to define a variable which can store an array of person's information. So in order to do that, let's say I'll be storing that information in a people variable, and I have to define the data type, but it should be of the same data type of person. Let me copy it, paste it over here. And I just don't want to store only single person's information, but instead I want to store the number of different persons information. So basically I need an array of persons, right? So I just have to give brackets here, the open bracket and closing bracket, in order to make it as an array. And this array will have the data types as defined here with the name and age as string and number. So now we can store different types of persons information in this people variable instead of storing only one person's information. So that's it for this video. I have explained about primitive types and arrays and objects here. Stay tuned to our channel for more tutorials about TypeScript, Angular and machine learning. Thanks for watching this video. Kindly subscribe.